Something else we usually have in here is backscatter, which Chris was talking about, and that's just, again, an intensity, but it comes in as pretty straightforward, either an image or XYZ data.
Can I ask a question about that? If you have XYZ data for backscatter, there's got to be a fourth dimension, right? The
Well,
level of
instead of XYZ, it would be XY intensity.
Oh.
So you're just taking that third column becomes a different value.
I see, and you don't get depth from that, but you place it, you paint it over your...
Yeah, exactly.
But you can drape it. That's what's really nice about it. So you use the bathymetry as a base for it, and you take it's like a blanket, and you just put it right on top of it, and it folds right over it.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, and then Aaron, if you can show that other dive between the two geodes, so it looks like it's in outer space there.
Oh, the diamond one, because I turned off our data. That was one we had a map, so that's a good story.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I...
Yeah, so we started with the GMRT data. So when you see that grid, that's just a wireframe of the GMRT.
What does that stand for?
Global Multi-Resolution Topography Model. So they take any high-resolution data that's available and then fill in the spaces with satellite altimetry and stuff like that. So this is all, when we say unmapped, that's the smooth satellite altimetry.
Right, because it's only done from satellite, not from a boat on the ocean.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or a combination. I think they take in
any
magnetic variation and like some single beam and stuff too.
Oh,
but
okay,
we don't count it as mapped unless it's been mapped with a multi-beam.
Roger.
And that is absolutely wonderful display of that data.
Super cool, yeah.
Because it really shows the difference in why we map, you know, what we start with and then what you wind up with after mapping.
So yeah, so that was before we mapped it. You can see how it jumps down from the existing data. And then we went and mapped it, and we got really nice bathy over the top.
And it's just a little bit different, isn't it?
Oh, just a bit, yeah.
That's so amazing to think that, you know, before this, that wasn't known where it was. It's just really cool.
Yeah, it's only off by, what, 600 meters or so?
Yeah, it was. Some of them were off by 1,000. I went through and kind of summarized that again today.
Yeah.
But yeah, then that was one where we kind of did do over the top, didn't we?
Yep.
Seems so long ago.
But that one wasn't a geode, so it had never reached the surface. So those rocks, I think.
Yeah, so that just
an issue.
Exactly, that illustrates the difference between a seamount that reached the surface and seamount that didn't. This particular one didn't, and we know that because it's retained its conical shape, the actual shape of the volcano, minus some sides and flanks where erosion has taken place. And it does not have a flat tip, so there's never any lagoon, there's never any reef, there was never any subaerial erosion going on that flattens out and takes off the whole top cone. That's it. That was, you know, you've seen a pretty good picture of the original volcano.
Nice glamour.
I'm curious, have we seen any big debris fields like we see from those mass wasting events we've seen in the main Hawaiian Islands, like on the Kaneohe side of Oahu? You have that massive field from a mass wasting event where like part of the entire island collapsed off and blew out 50 miles out into the ocean. Have we seen any of that on these?
Well, I think we're seeing it right now. It looks to me like just over here to the left of that volcanic cone very likely could be a debris field from this flank failure right on the side right below where we started.
That contributes to the convex shape of that it's a debris field that fell out.
Yeah, so presumably there was obviously some erosion here that sort of knocked, because these volcanoes tend to form sort of a sharp mound, if you will. They don't necessarily, if my understanding is, don't necessarily have the stellate pattern when they're actually forming. It's more like the Big Island, you know what I mean? Where but I mean, who knows here, because these are so old. And then these ridges kind of manifest themselves after there's a certain amount of erosion and landsliding that's going on down here, and to me that looks like sort of a debris field below that.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So do you mean in here or even further?
A little further, because this stuff can really slide. Yeah, all of this moundy stuff.
Yeah.
Here, I'll bet that came off of that flank of the volcano. Just over time, it just collapsed and gradually slid downhill. Now, this isn't the type of landslide that you'd see in air where you have this big event and a huge. It can occur very slowly, almost like gradually sliding down.
Oh, a slumping.
Yeah, slumping.
So that's one of the main features that contributes to the age pattern of the Hawaiian Islands and the Hawaiian archipelago. It's not just erosion from rain and from other things. It's more these mass wasting events where just the mass of it is slowly slumping back into the ocean, or even these larger events that where a bigger chunk of the entire island collapses.
Yeah, so it's really hard to say. And what would cause that flank failure? Well, earthquakes, for example, which I'm sure there have been plenty of earthquakes over time here. This stuff just is so fascinating to me to see these imagery. This is terrific.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Aphrodita, are there any questions from people about mapping?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
But Jason is watching us. Veronica can't.
Yeah.
We have 46 viewers around the world. I'm sure we'll get more. So any viewers out there, if you have any questions about mapping the seafloor.
Can you show this one, Aaron? Because this one we mapped entirely from scratch as well.
Yeah, so this was so long ago. This was Seamount A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just show what the original data looked like that we had to work with, and then what it looks like now.
So I'll make that non-wireframe, so maybe it's easier for people to understand. But that's what we had, that most generic looking pimple in the altimetry that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
If one was to make up a seamount, that's maybe what it would look like. So we had a guess off of that, how big this thing was and how long it was going to take us. And I was gloriously wrong. We got done way faster than we thought we would. So that's
okay.
Yeah, that's always better that way than the other way.
I know, absolutely. I love to be, I'm always conservative. I do all our transits at 9.5 knots, and you guys have been doing 11 to 12. So.
And that's the results after we did the mapping.
Yeah, and for viewers out there, there is a little bit of a delay between what we're talking about and what you're actually seeing, so just consider that.
Yeah, I guess about 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Oh, is it that long?
Yeah.
Is there?
I don't think there is that much.
I don't think there is any delay between the audio and the video. There's delay between reality and when they see it. But
you mean the two are synced, the audio and video are synced?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or maybe it's just coming back to the ship is what the...
It's definitely slow coming back to I mean, it's got to go to space twice to go back to the ship, so...
Okay. Ignore my last comment.
So, by the way, there's one of the banks in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, and I don't know what the Hawaiian name is, but it was Maro Atoll, I believe, or island?
Maro Reef?
Maro Reef, excuse me. And when we mapped that back in 2014, what hadn't been mapped by some of the NOAA fisheries cruises, there was tremendous landsliding that's taken that whole bank apart, and you could see these big, huge debris fields that are down below there, and all of that wound up creating the appearance of a pig. And there was a big, huge crater on the back end on one of the rift zones that looked like the curly tail. And so I was thinking we ought to call it Pua.
Yeah.
Seamount.
Pua'a.
Yeah, Pua, which is the Hawaiian word for pig, I think.
Yeah, for pig, Pua'a.
Yeah. So, but it was amazing to see those, what had happened to this seamount. They used to have a pretty normal shape, and then it was getting eaten away.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, and all of these seamounts, Aaron, this whole track you see leading to our dive site today, you guys just mapped them when we ran. This is what we did while we were running away from the weather for the last couple of days. We always try to remain productive, no matter what happens.
Are you talking about our productive mapping over the last 2 days?
Why don't you go through that? Because I could look some more at this beautiful imagery.
I only have the one grid, but if the viewers could imagine, we tracked one line directly over these seamounts on the way up. So we just had a center swath. We came and we had all of our fun up here over multiple days, and then we hightailed out of here following that line and did a track down the west. So we used that weather time to almost like fill out these out completely. It was a bit bouncy on the way up this morning, so that's what it looks like when you're not getting good data.
Is that from weather?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was swell, a bit of swell,
waves.
and me not changing modes fast enough too. that was part of it.
Roger.
You were trying. What, 4 in the morning or 3:30 in the morning?
Yes, I was distracted by a scientist who gets up really early in the morning, no matter what.
Oh, Andy, why would you do that?
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm afraid that was me.
But we came down the left side. You can see this data is not processed yet. So when you hear us talking about processing data, this is the kind of nonsense we get rid of.
And we are going to be diving on these seamounts as they work our way down through the remainder of the cruise, and that's why we mapped them. It wasn't just to get these pictures. Now we have the information to actually select our dive sites because we can actually see what they look like.
Yeah, it was great how much we actually could cover just on those transits. Like this one's almost done.
Yeah.
That one could use some work.
Aaron, can I throw you a curveball?
Oh no, what?
Are you able to change that from rainbow to the way you prefer to see it?
That could take hours.
Does it actually?
No, it takes a minute, but for me to think about how I prefer to see it.
Oh.
I could sit here and play with color maps the entire watch if you
Okay, roger.
How do you prefer to see it? If you don't like you don't like rainbows, then I guess.
I don't. I like either like a single gradation of color or like something that makes sense. Either like a gradation of blues, even though the land is not blue, it makes sense to my mind that it's underwater then. Or like a two-tone gradation, so it just makes more sense. Like I'm used to seeing rainbows, and I know that red is shallow and purple is deep, but there is nothing intuitive about that at all, and it's a terrible color map for people who are colorblind. So,
are you colorblind?
Me, no, but I know plenty of people who are.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but it's the default bathymetry color map for some reason. We all use it.
So if a person is colorblind, that person wouldn't be able to make this kind of maps or read this kind of maps?
They would have trouble with it, yeah. It's usually a red-green issue, I believe. I'm not an expert. Do we have any colorblind folks?
I'm not.
No.
Well, my friend and colleague and guru of ocean mapping, John Hughes Clark, is colorblind, so he always makes his maps in grayscale.
Statistically, we should have at least one colorblind person on the boat.
Yeah, probably somewhere.
Well, I guess I'm going to be the alternate opinion. I use color maps like this in ArcGIS all the time, and the reason being is you can focus essentially the color ramp, the reds to the blues to a specific area of the seamount. And when you do that, you often can see features that you did not see in sort of a monotone view. So, for example, like a small, tiny little volcanic cone that you didn't really see gets fleshed out once you can put the color into it. And on this particular thing, you're just going up sort of a standard ramp, so I would agree. It's a little bit artificial. These mounts don't have red tops to them. But it is a visualization tool under certain circumstances.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I often use it too, just because it's so bright, it then stands out, and that's helpful. But and it's different in 2D too. Like if you're making a map view, you often need color to pull stuff out. If you have sun illumination and a 3D perspective, you're more likely to catch something, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that, but I'm more working in 2D most of the time, and maybe that's it, just the difference there.
Oh, maybe.
How does it determine shadows?
Magic of computers, but it's by it uses a standard azimuth. So if you could see, this is where you set up the sun illumination. So you could change it. This is the default to be from the northwest, but I guess if you're used to seeing shadows in a different orientation, southern hemisphere or whatever, you could switch it around. Sometimes we manipulate it just to make it not so dark on a slope that we're interested in.
Did you say the light's coming out of the northwest?
Yeah, it's simulated with the sun. The artificial sun at 45 degrees and the azimuth of 315, if it's the same.
Try southeast.
Wait, no, I'm confused. Is the sun in the northwest or in the southeast?
The sun in this visualization is from in the northwest.
Okay. Yeah.
And that casts the shadows then off the backside, right? So if I go north-oriented.
I guess there never would be shadows in this in real life because it's underwater. But
yeah, so you can make it what you want, like
right.
Whatever. And if it's working, I just leave it. But if we're really trying to if we're going to be diving on something that's on, a really shadowy side, then we might flip it around so that it illuminates it better.
Cool.
However, and I got to see, you gave me an opening here, Aaron, because I've done this plenty of times in ARC. If you were to take the seamount, for example, and you switch the sun around so it's coming from the southeast to the northwest, often you can create a giant depression in your perception of a giant depression rather than an actual seamount. And it's a mental thing. Yeah, I mean, I think what Aaron's saying is, let's say you wanted to look at this one side you're particularly interested in. I've done that as well.
Yeah.
but you can get some really weird visual effects by changing that default sun position.
Oh yeah, I got it there. I got it. It's now
totally
in.
flips your brain around.
Totally,
Yeah.
because I expect the light to stay in the same spot,
Yeah.
and now that's it's not a seamount, it's a pit.
It changes everything.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Okay,
it really
cool.
changes.
That's a mental thing. That's all
Totally.
it is.
Oh yeah, that's breaks my head a little bit. As soon as you get 3D, it's not so bad anymore.
But yeah,
no,
top
it
down,
isn't.
it's hard.
Top down, it messes you up.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. 2D, it's brutal.
That's cool. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
And that's even like between software programs, if you're used to seeing something some way, some software, when I look at it, everything looks like a hole. Like
That's so
it's
funny.
totally just a visual thing, but it's like I can't straighten it out because it looks like a hole.
I know exactly what you're talking about. There's sometimes you like hit your head. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, people are like, oh, go to that hill there. I'm like, there's no hill there. There's a giant,
That's funny,
giant
yeah.
hole in the ground.
A viewer wants to know if there is anywhere that they could go to take a closer look at these maps or download them even.
Well, our data is available if they have the tools for that. I don't have a good answer for that other than that. It is really specialized, but we could make this kind of thing available. There's free viewers and stuff like that that people can get if they're interested. But yeah, we should work on a better answer to that question. I don't know.
Does eventually it get published into Google Earth, like public database or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. It goes first to GMRT. So
Okay.
they are already integrating our data from last cruise into the...
Wow, that fast.
That's really
It will take a while for the new grid to come out, but
Sure.
our data, we have a really good relationship with them in that we do the kind of quality checks that they need to speed up that flow. So
Awesome.
it goes into there, and their data goes into Google Earth. So I don't know what the timeline is, like how long it takes, but we get it to them really, really quickly. So if Google's pulling from their latest grid, it would go there.
Sure. Nice.
So do you also deposit it at NCEI?
Yep. So we go through Rolling Vector Repository at Lamont, and they get it all ready for GMRT, and then they make it available for a fetch through NCEI. So that's all really well organized and really well set up. And yeah, it goes into the databases. So if you have the ability to view this kind of data and work with it, you can get our data from NCEI, which is the National, help me out, Chris.
Yeah, National Center for Environmental Information.
Thank you. You can download the track line data there. But if you don't have the software, then I'm trying to think of we can make like Google Earth KMLs and stuff. I just don't know where we could put them for the world to access.
You can also, there you can get data and just have it exported as just a typical TIFF or a GeoTIFF. It's sort of a visual product. You can't really work with it if you don't have the software, but at least you can see the imagery.
Sure, yep. Cool. Well, that was our fun and games with bathymetry.
Very neat.
Next dive we could do slope. That'll be exciting.
You know, I've been doing a lot of slope the past couple days. I've got the slope maps for all of these areas because I've been trying to see if I need to adjust the dive plans based on what we found the other days and see if I can figure anything out as to why that site was so spectacular.
Yeah. Did you come up with anything?
Well, I was measuring the width of the ridge, and I think the ridge has to be fairly narrow, or when it widens out, that's when we seem to have gotten into those nodule beds. So there's more flat area for sediment to collect and other things. I think the ridge has to be oriented in a specific direction, and that sort of goes back to Emil's talk in the lounge yesterday afternoon, where he talked about these internal waves that are generated by the Hawaiian Ridge that may be impacting these seamounts and creating the strong current. But, you know, it's not going to give you that strong current if the ridge is in the wrong orientation. And it's sort of like if you have a submarine and it's heading right into the current, you know, it's pretty hydrodynamic, you know, so the current's just going to flow right around its shape. But if the submarine or even the boat is sideways to the current, it's going to tend to blow the boat. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like same thing with the current. If the ridge is sideways to one of these currents, then the water is going to try to butt up against it and try to get over the head top of it, and it's going to accelerate. And I think that's somehow involved in
creating more flow, like
creating more
underwater
fall.
wave.
It's really complicated, and it isn't just one factor that's involved in creating these communities, and we're struggling to figure it out.
Yeah.
I just want to leave this on for the rest of the dive. Why go back to high pack?
Yeah, who needs high pack? We used to occasionally run Vessel Manager in Fledermaus with the ROV positions, which was fun, but also sometimes stressful. But it was cool because then you could see the ROV's position in 3D on whatever you're looking at. And it was cool, I think, for the back row, but it sometimes would cause some problems. People would try to insist that the pilots drive off of that, but there's such a delay that that wasn't appropriate. But it was cool visualization.
We have a couple of other questions from the viewers.
Sure.
Are you following specific coordinates from the mapping?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have very precise start points that the ship and the ROV pilots and the navigators are all able to, target and get the vehicle extremely close to. And then we follow along the line or the ridge however we want to go to get to the end point of the dive.
And then Race is asking, what resolution are you guys able to get with the sonar?
It's really depth dependent. So if you're mapping in shallower water, say shallower than 500 meters depth, you can get pretty good resolution, somewhere on the order of maybe 10 meters. Each pixel is 10 meters by 10 meters. Down at these depths at 2,000 meters, because the way the sonar works, it sort of forms a cone and it broadens out the actual footprint of the sonar as you get deeper. Then the only way you would get sort of 10 or 20 meter resolution is by interpolation. It's kind of an artificial pushing to give you a higher resolution. It's not really real. So the resolution here of this grid is this 75, Aaron, or is this 100? Or?
This is 100. Yeah, we could do a little bit better, but we start to see artifacts in the data and some holes and things. So
yeah,
100 is pretty safe.
If you were to map just the summit of that geo, you could get data that's less than 100, right?
Of course, yeah. So we estimate 1 to 5% of water depth for our cell size, and start with that. And then we don't follow any hard and fast rules. We just grid where we have a nice continuous surface and a couple soundings, at least a couple soundings per whatever cell size we're looking at, so that it's a little more statistically robust and that we're not really just looking at sonar artifacts as opposed to real terrain.
Yeah, that's a good question. Have we got any more there?
You took care of 2 questions already.
Okay.
That last one too.
Got a happy Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you folks too. And we've got somebody from muddy Netherlands. I guess it's raining over there. Somebody wants to become a biologist one day. Well, if that's what you want to become, pursue it. So go for it.
Kainalu, Justin and I were voting for your map last night. We went through the whole process to the story map.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you guys.
You did have to sign in, right?
Yeah, you have to sign in. You have to make an account and then sign in and do it.
Yeah, it is kind of a process.
Well, we got time here.
Yeah, that's what people can do in blue water. They can go check out Kainalu's map, story map that he made.
Kainalu and I were having a little GIS session this afternoon, and he knows the more advanced software in ArcGIS. It's called GIS Pro, and I don't. I know an earlier version 10.8, and that's the first time I really saw a good look at his version, and it was incomprehensible to me. They have changed the tools around.
Oh, don't you hate when they do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he already had some training in 10, so he could navigate my version much better. I was looking at his, and I couldn't figure out what was heads or tails. And I've been using the software for decades, and
it's definitely different.
Yeah. So it's a learning curve. I assume they made those drastic changes because they felt those are very major improvements, but I'm old. I like
You're set in your interfaces.
I like my comfortable little slippers, you know, and I like my comfortable little version of ArcGIS.
Well, you go with whatever works until it doesn't work anymore. And then you have to have the painful upgrade process.
Yeah, which I did. I mean, since I started with ARC 3.1 or something, or maybe even 2, as far as I know, I've been through a couple. Yeah, I went through a couple iterations.
Archosaur.
Yeah, well, when they changed some of their tools and the locations, that was driving me crazy. It's like, where are my freaking tools? So, anyway, then you learn.
Yep.
So I probably will learn ArcGIS Pro. So at some point in another life.
You sound so disgruntled about that.
Begrudgingly learn it.
Adapter perish, right?
10.8, more like 10 point ancient.
Oh man.
Trevor.
And Travis started first blood. You were first blood.
Oh no.
Which his name is Trevor, but
Maybe I'll start calling you Crust.
The war has begun.
okay, it's game on. It's game on here.
ARC 3.0, Trevor was still in diapers back then.
Was he born
actually?
Probably true.
Probably actually true, yeah. Ooh, hurts because it's true.
Yes.
We obviously try to have fun out here. This is a lot of science and a lot of work that we're all doing, and that's you know, we kind of need to throw out a few jokes here and there.
It's important.
And I was sort of thinking about describing this one fun little activity that we've been doing. That it's another dig at Trevor.
Perfect. Hit me.
Uh-oh.
And we had quite a cribbage tournament after everybody's watched.
I saw that. It was epic.
It was epic, and there was three of us playing simultaneously because it's a 3-row board. And those guys, so that was, excuse me, Trevor, Jessica, and myself, and those guys are ahead of me pretty much the whole way around the board.
That was Jake. That wasn't even me.
Was it Jake? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. You're right. It was Jake. I beat you earlier. That's
Nope, never beat me. I let you win earlier.
Gauntlet is tossed.
Just a hot reminder that if you ever play Chris in a game, he'll let everyone know if he won.
We put that on the highlight reel, yeah. Dive highlights.
It's like dive, coral, sponge.
Anyway, those guys are just about ready to peg out, right? And they were well ahead of me. And then I drew a 24-point hand, and I pegged first.
No.
And it was...
God,
it was one of the
so
best victories of my life. These are the moments you live for.
Those are, yeah. That is,
last-minute victories in cribbage. And does that tell you how old I am?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
I think those things
I
are
think
ageless.
every age enjoys cribbage.
I would hope so.
I don't know how to play cribbage personally, but...
Well, you can learn. Jessica would love to play against you and whoop you as she's teaching you, I think.
Yeah,
as much as I would love to get destroyed by Jessica.
You know, she taught Jake, I think. And then Jake went on and beat his teacher a few times.
You got to beat your teacher, yeah. Jess beat me. I say this shamelessly because what are you going to do? I taught Jess to play, and she beat me here the first 8 games in a row. Including skunked twice.
Whoa.
Yikes. Yeah.
She played like 1 game or 2 games before in her life and had totally forgotten how. So I'm like, here's how you play. She's like, okay, here's how I win. All right.
And then, of course, Jess asked if I would play, and I sort of consider I have a little digital version of cribbage that I play sometimes, and I know how to play it. I'll play, sure. The entire game, I was trying to figure out how I could avoid being double skunked. So I only got single skunked by Jessica. Anyway.
Next thing you know, you're off to the World Cribbage Championship in Las Vegas.
Well, it's just kind of fun, you know, when you have some off hours because everybody's working so much all the time just to do something. It's enjoyable. But anyway, back to science. We got any more questions
Yeah, we have a whole group watching us here.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yes, they say, my friends and I really enjoy watching the streams. We were wondering what the strangest thing you've ever seen on a dive. That's Gabe, Kale, Caden, and Zach.
I got an answer.
I got an answer.
No, shall we each throw out? So
yeah,
I'm going to
Let's
talk
do
about
this.
NA101, the 2018 Nautilus cruise. Okay. And I was not on watch. I just got off watch, but then I'm such a nerd. I was watching after I was off watch on the
in
screen.
your PJs in your cabin.
Yes, I was.
I knew it.
And suddenly this weird sort of black blobby thing sort of shows up on the left-hand side of the screen, and you can hear the pilots and science observers going, "What's that? What is that? What is that?" And so they get a little bit closer to it, and it's kind of drifting, almost like a jellyfish, but a black jellyfish right above the bottom, and it gets closer and closer, and then they zoom in, and one of the science or the pilots goes, "Wait, that's got a fin. That's a fish." And everybody's, "What?" And then they look at it, and they realize it's a fish, okay? But that's what isn't so strange. The fish started changing. And it started doing these contortions, and suddenly this perfect sphere with a tail on it started wrinkling and folding and spinning and turning, and it transformed into an eel.
A gulper eel.
A gulper eel, and nobody had ever seen that behavior. They know they have this huge mouth, but it was water filled. I mean, he'd filled his whole mouth, so it was looking like a big sphere with a little.
That's incredible.
So
you can watch that highlight video on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, so just Google Nautilus gulper eel. It's everywhere. I mean, it just went viral on the internet. So that's my strangest thing. All right. What do we got, Trevor?
That was good. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
I found a bathroom.
Excuse me?
Like a toilet?
Like a toilet and a bathtub right next to each other. But there was notably no sink, so it was hard to wash your hands, but I found the rest of the bathroom.
Where was this? Near some metropolitan area? Or?
No, it was really remote. It was exceptionally remote. I don't have any idea why it was there. It was a not a multi-day, but definitely a several-hour boat ride to get there at 22 knots. So anyway, yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah.
Okay, we got any other strangest thing anyone's ever seen? No, nobody? That's it? Aaron? Nobody?
No, I don't have any strange ones. I can't think of it. Everything, I have a lot of cool ones, but like nothing that struck me as strange. It's hard to beat a toilet.
Well, have you seen anything strange in the mapping data that you generate? Some topographic feature that's really strange?
I see a lot of things that I don't understand. Yeah, on our transit, there was a lot of those little like 3/4 circle donut things that were quite, I guess, I don't know, if I were to picture something that was an atoll that then now is, just a few 100 meters off the seafloor. They were weird, hard to explain. I don't think we have any in this data, but on the last cruise we crossed a couple.
Like a crater, like a partially collapsed crater.
Like the very tip of a crater on the seafloor. Yeah, it's very...
Wasn't it the mapping team that noticed something during mapping and that's how the whale fall came about? Or some...
No, that was Mezzo, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they saw it come up in, I think it was Rennie, actually saw it come up in the Mezzo.
Oh,
but
cool.
yeah, by the time I came up on watch, he was like, "We're turning around. There's something big in the Mezzo. We're going to spend a lot of time there." And he was not joking. Like we spent hours there. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Hey, can I see the dive map area zone? Where are we going? What are we doing here?
Yep, stand by.
And 24 minutes off bottom, but
that's time.
Still start thinking about it anyway.
All right, so...
Am I going north?
Oh.
No, we're going southeast.
How about Aaron?
Roger.
Video.
Thanks.
What's the weirdest or coolest thing you've seen in all of these dives?
I think the whale fall was when we were on that. I didn't know there were bone-eating worms, and I think that was something quite cool. And I didn't know the octopus would feed on a dead whale. So that was quite cool too. So, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be the coolest one. No toilets for me.
So Trevor is going to be up
Okay, roger.
this way, and the endpoint's somewhere in where we already went. So in there somewhere.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
But Chris,
are we going to check out that other lumpus?
Is that what you want to do with this? Chris, do you want to talk us through what you want to do with this start and endpoint? Can you see high pack, or do we need to switch screens?
Yeah, Aaron, could you switch the other Aaron, could you switch the HIPAC display on if you could? She has to come over and change it because I'm a old guy.
I think if you
Just
just
too many
do
buttons here. There's
HIPAC survey, HIPAC
Survey, yep.
Yep.
where was it? Oh, there it is.
HIPAC survey.
Okay. Aha, the old guy knows some buttons now.
Uh-oh.
That's there.
We're in trouble.
You are in trouble.
If it goes black, you'll know what happened. No.
So I don't know if we could zoom HIPAC a little bit over to where the dive site is, or...
Well, the start here is on the left and the end is on the right. So do you want to start on the start side?
No, that's fine, yeah. So if you're looking now at, let's see, there we go. All right, so if you're looking at the left lower corner of the quad screen, okay, you can see a bunch of colors and sort of a green ship icon there, and that's us. And those green, the blue and red colors are the vehicles. One has one color, one has the other. And we're going to land, as you can see, there's a H1890 start, and it's about right where the ship is. And that's the start point. The ship is right over the start point. And then if you come all the way back down here, the endpoint's kind of buried in some of these drop pins and things from last dive, but it's over here where all that text is, over there.
Somewhere.
So what I was thinking we could do, and I always like to drop a little bit flat just because it's sort of safe whenever we can. So we're dropping on a little bit of flat area, and then we're going to climb the slope. Exactly how you're showing it right now. Climb up the slope, we'll hit another flat terrace onto the top, and then we'll continue to angle a little bit toward the south, climb up that terrace, keep going up, and then climb probably let's see, where I can't see the start point of the, I guess the start, yeah, we'll just climb just below this other. We might go up to this high point, or we might scoot along the south side of it.
Okay.
And then where all that text is where that community was located. So we want to try to get over there and intersect so we have a complete survey between the two dives.
Okay.
That's it.
Do you want us when we get to the seafloor to make sure and go back and touch that start point because you were aiming for the flat, or you just want to see if we're flat and there's nodules?
Yeah, it's not necessary to go back on there. Yeah, it's just to see if there's nodules there and just see what transitions and how the topography relates to what we're seeing. So that was sort of it, and that's why we're going. I chose this so we could go over another terrace right there. I'm expecting nodules right there where your cursor is too.
And I'm going to drop that there just as a reminder. All right, and then we can zoom in a bit and get a feel for what's going to happen immediately. Cool. Looking forward to it. Hope it's as fun as the last one.
Yeah, it's not going to be quite as dense, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, but I think it'll be interesting. I hope. So we got anything more?
Well, Jason has given us a bunch of very cool things that have been seen through Hercules' eyes. So the gulper eel got 4.5 million views on YouTube.
It's actually one of my all-time favorites, is that gulper eel.
That is pretty cool.
I call it the transformer fish. It's just so bizarre.
And then the brittle stars.
Yeah, that actually caught a fish. A brittle star caught a fish.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, it was on one of the
possible?
Okeanos dives, and Jason watches all of these things, and I was stunned. I saw that video and could not believe my eyes. He just reached up and grabbed the fish.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And then the
large fossil, I'm trying to remember. Oh, was that the whale skeleton maybe?
large fossil.
They found a mammoth tusk too somewhere.
That's right. That was in the
On a what?
news.
A mammoth tusk in Monterey.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah,
They
used
just
to be
went
those,
and retrieved it too, I think.
there used to be those dwarf, the kind of dwarf mammoths, like out on Channel Islands, I know. They have bones out there.
Yeah, I think Jason corrected me. I thought he caught I thought I saw something catch a fish, but he's saying it caught a squid. But anyway, whatever the animal was up in the water column. The brittle star reached up and caught it. So
it's incredible.
Somebody, Jason also suggested a wolf eel living on a shipwreck. So that's pretty cool. Wolf eels are really bizarre fish. Those are.
They are.
Yeah, they are strange. What's the best meal aboard the ship? Do you ever get tired of eating the same thing? Well, that's an easy one.
Oh, yeah, gosh. Everyone has the same answer today.
Yeah, why don't somebody else tell the viewers what we ate today, this amazing meal?
Yeah, a couple of viewers want to know.
Well, somebody up there, maybe Aaron, video?
Video Aaron? Tell us about dinner.
I can describe food. Well, it was a beautiful setup with turkey and mashed potatoes and stuffing and fruit and salad and yeah, it's great.
The arrangement was really well done.
It was really well done.
On the skewers and stuff, it was really beautiful.
Sashimi, there was some sushimi.
Oh, there was sushimi.
That was nice.
There was cake and pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie.
Which I ate both.
There was
toast. Sure did too.
Yeah,
there
then had a second.
Yeah, there's shrimp skewers.
They were nice.
Skewers, yes. Steak too. You had multiple
steak,
meat.
chicken, ribs.
Yeah, it was unreal. So that was our Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah, we definitely don't suffer out here, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're very grateful.
But I would argue that the best normal meal is stuffed peppers. They're so good.
We haven't had that yet this cruise, have we?
Haven't we? I don't know. They've kind of blurred together. I've had them in the last 3 months at some point.
Oh, okay. I love stuffed peppers.
Wow, look at the view. The sun's going down
nice
up
sky.
top. It's so calm on the surface.
Oh, they've also started making cabbage rolls. Like in my part of the country, they call them halupkis, but they have a different name, like the Ukrainian, Romanian version. They're delicious too.
So we're at 1,674 meters, and our target depth is 2,404. So somebody out there who did pay attention during their math class, what's the difference? Come on, quick. We're looking. Who can do this math really quick? 2,404 minus 1,600, say 90.
2,400? I don't think so.
2,404.
21.
Is it 21? Ooh, so I guess I wasn't paying attention in math. Let's see.
2140 minus, let's say, 1695.
I know what it was. I just sent somebody some video of a fish that was 2,404 that they requested, an ichthyologist.
Isn't that funny how the brain works?
Yeah, it was.
So I think I'd like to kind of go over what we've found so far. We're almost halfway through the expedition.
Well, go for it.
And some of the things, just talking to the different scientists about what we've seen so far. Certainly the last dive on the seamount, on Don Quixote Seamount, we found these amazing high-density coral and sponge communities that we're trying to go back to right now to try to determine what the range or the limit is of this community. But it was definitely, go back and check out the video. It was pretty spectacular, like sponges as far as the ROV can see, and then intense coral communities, and then back to sponge communities. So that was pretty spectacular. I know that Dr. Beth Orcutt, who's looking at the microbial communities on some of the rocks that we're collecting, the squishy rocks, because we are collecting hard rocks and squishy rocks. And the squishy rocks have, she's looking at the microbial communities that are on them for these ferromanganese crusts that accumulate. But one thing so far that she's finding is that they're thinner than what she had expected. And so we think these seamounts are Cretaceous origin. They're 80 to 100 million years old, we think. And so why that's surprising is that over that period of time, she thought they would have been thicker, quite a bit thicker than they have turned out to be. So why that is, we don't know. Perhaps there's not as much minerals in the water column and in the pores, the water that comes up through the sediment is not as mineral rich as other areas, or there's some microbial thing going on, or who knows, there's some other environmental factor, or maybe these seamounts aren't quite as old as we think they are. That's about a possibility. So that's one analysis we've been looking at, one of the questions from the results so far. And also, well, we can't date the rocks on the ship. We collected a number of these hard basalt rocks for the dating, but we aren't able to do any of the dating on board the ship. So those are going to have to go back to the lab to find out what the actual, how old these seamounts actually are. So that is a yet. And Chris has collected some cool sponges.
Yay, sponge. Go team sponge.
Yeah, including one that
stumped me.
You stumped you and you sent off to your expert in Moscow.
No, I'm going to.
You're going to, yeah.
Yes, Dr. Konstantin Tabachnik, who works at the Shirshov Institute in Moscow, is one of the world's premier experts in sponges. And I'm going to send him some pictures. It was just the day that I was trying to download them from the ship and select them out.
Yeah.
And then normally when I get back home, I've got a small piece of that sponge too. The bulk of it is going to go to the Harvard Museum of Zoology. But I'm going to take a piece and I'm going to examine it, and then I will photograph under the microscope all the microscopic parts. And when I get home, and then I'll send them a more complete package of what the imagery, in situ, the laboratory images, and all the microscope images for him, which will be more, he'll be better able to help me identify it.
Yeah.
But it's totally bizarre. I've never seen anything like it at all. We call it the cotton candy sponge because it's so lightweight, and all of these long, essentially strands of glass, which are the spicules, and you can't even see any tissue on it, but you know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
When it was down on the bottom, it was yellow. When it came up, it was white, which is also bizarre.
Yeah. Oh.
And I have no idea. I did notice that the attachment is, in the imagery, I didn't notice it during the dive, but it's what's called lopophytus attachment, which means it's using also additional strands to anchor onto the substrate. So that rules out a bunch of possibilities.
Yeah.
It narrows it down, and I can't really go further than that. I've got to get under my microscope. So.
And it's absolutely fascinating, these sponges. I mean, Chris has the sample down in the wet lab, and it's like fiberglass. I mean, it's incredible if you touch it. So these sponges, they build basically a crystalline glass structure from what they aggregate from the water column, and it's just amazing. I mean, it's sharp. If you really grabbed it, you would hurt yourself. It would stick. it would poke you quite good. But it's amazing. It is like cotton candy glass, like fiberglass. So it's phenomenal, the structure of some of these organisms. And other ones are more. They're not as fibrous as that. They have more of a structure. How to describe it?
It can be more, this thing didn't feel like a kitchen sponge. This felt like cotton candy, and it was so lightweight. You could take a whole big clump of it and hold it on the tip of your little finger. It's so lightweight. Other sponges actually feel like kitchen sponges.
Yeah.
Right, that kind of texture. And yet other sponges are completely solid. So what they do is they take all of these microscopic fibers and all these microscopic parts that we call spicules, and they add more silica and glue them all together into what they call a dictyonal framework. And that's solid as a rock in some species, so it feels like a rock. It's hard.
Yeah, it's incredible. And one thing I've learned is that the structure of these sponges is so unique and so strong in some cases that people like folks at Bell Labs have looked at this structure and even considering revising the way that they create fiber optic cables, utilizing this structure, kind of biomimicry, to enhance the strength of fiber optic cables, utilizing the structure they found in deep sea sponges.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
We can learn a lot. These animals are some of the earliest animals that inhabited the planet. They've been around for a really long time. And I'm going to use this sort of anthropomorphically, and they've learned a lot,
Yeah.
which of course they haven't because they don't have brains. But the species as a whole has solved problems. And
yeah, they're obviously successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're a wild group, I'll tell you. I really like them. And by the way, I saw a sponge on that dive, which I have never seen before, but I didn't want to get greedy because right after I collected the yellow sponge, and we needed to get rocks and we needed to get moving, but I have my eye out for that guy. Maybe there's one down slope.
Cool. So we've, so we collected sponge samples. We collected different type of rock samples for different purposes, the microbial analysis and also the age analysis. We've done some really awesome mapping that Aaron shared with you before. Some of these seamounts had not been mapped by multi-beam bathymetry before. And so that will contribute to this and future expeditions. So that's kind of the summary of what I have so far from what we've seen in these 6 dives prior to this one. Just still a lot of questions.
Yep.
Any corals?
Yes, we have some corals. We got some bamboo corals. We've got what's in the family Chrysogorgia, which is called, this new name is going to drive me crazy. Remulogorgia.
Remulogorgia militaris.
I don't think you did any better than I did. But you added
Remulogorgia militaris.
No, it's not Remulogorgia day. It's Remulogorgia.
Okay.
Yeah, because the day, that suffix is always attached to a family
okay.
name. So, but yeah, you had trouble with that.
I did.
And the name was Pleurogorgia. I mean, it's easy, right?
Yeah, Pleurogorgia is easy.
But you know, the way taxonomy works is they found that was inappropriate because somebody had already named a species, the Remulogorgia, that was this particular one before the other guy named Pleurogorgia. So you always got to go back to the first name, and sometimes you don't know that for a while.
Interesting.
So,
and that's the other thing is that these, we're still collecting a lot of information about these deep sea organisms. So the taxonomy is changing pretty rapidly, and as we add to the database, and if we haven't mentioned it earlier, we are all looking at the wonderful animal guide published by NOAA and Okeanos. So if you want to follow along with what we're looking at, you can Google Okeanos Animal Guide.
Yeah, and Kim Weaver is putting something up on the website. I was working with her today. She's got this really interesting kind of story thing that she's posting on there, and we were just looking at IDs and everything to make sure she got them all correct. And it's really nice. So in addition to Kainalu's story map, which doesn't relate to this cruise, but it's really cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
then Kim's going to have this product, and I think there's more products as well that people can take a look at.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of working and doing a bit of a different thing. And Kainalu, that was great on those captures in that community. I mean, you took a ton of them, and I was just going through finding the right ones, but it was a beautiful job. Okay, so what else we got here? Do we have some more questions?
Yeah, we have other questions. What are some of the most interesting tech tools you've helped test?
Oh, that's a front row question. But we're getting pretty close.
Interesting tech tools we helped test?
Yes.
Oh, I helped test a rock grabber driller thing that was supposed to be used in space. That was cool.
Is that the gripper?
That was the
I was on that cruise.
Yeah, it was from JPL.
Yeah, JPL. What was the guy's name? I forgot.
Oh, I can't remember. That's been a couple of years. I can't remember what it was actually called. I just called it the face hugger, but I don't remember.
He published a big manuscript about the whole description of that gripper. So
that was a cool tech tool. It was really scary looking. It looked like a thing out of an alien movie.
It did. What else? What other cool tech have you tested?
Weren't you guys using like a low light camera at some point to try and get bioluminescence?
Right. Yeah, that's right. Cool. I think Aaron was on that cruise actually. but she's preoccupied right now. But there was a low light camera where we had to try to find, what do you call it when the animals make the light?
Bioluminescence.
Bioluminescence, thank you. I'm trying to look for bioluminescence.
Did you find
And also
any?
looking for either iridescence or phosphorescence or fluorescence. There's another term where the animal absorbs light but reflects back a different light and not through, I don't know, it's I'm not a biologist, I have no idea, but it's some fancy stuff where you shine a certain color light and it reflects a different color light back. And I think I want to say it's called fluorescence, but I don't know that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And that was also trying to be picked up in the low light camera.
I'm trying to think through this too. I think fluorescent is when
All right, cool. 60
something
meters off
interacts
bottom.
with the cells that cause the cells to, some chemical in the cells to light up. You know, on that same cruise, we tested that 3D camera. Do you remember that? The big, huge sphere?
Oh yeah, that big thing on the porch.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
All right, we got bottom and a sight of our sonars.
Okay.
Probably a minute off bottom, maybe 2.
Woohoo!
So we're about 50 meters off the bottom right now. So everybody get ready to see seafloor and probably nodules.
CC floor.
Going to be a little flat, so.
34 meters. Nice.
Countdown.
Yep.
I think I'm seeing something. There's some shadowing.
So you can go between 10 and 15, stop there, and then I'll come around. And turn your thrusters on at your leisure. Bottom in sight.
Yep, see it.
You can give me a reset.
Yep.
And look at that, it's
Flash reset.
nodules. Imagine that.
Nodules. That's you nailed it, Chris.
You know, I hate to tell
All right, hold your
everybody,
heading there.
but I'm pretty delighted with the sight line. There's a few corals, but
Okay,
I'm pretty
reset.
delighted. And why? That means that
Yeah, get your heading quick. I'm
we may
taking off
capture the
tension.
start point of this community because
Thanks. Can you come
we're
around to
below it.
starboard, please?
There's a couple little sponges there, but not in very high density. That's expected.
Nope.
Uh-oh, the abundance is picking up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a big coral tree behind
You
the
could-
left there.
Okay, if I clear up the trails.
Well, still not
Yep.
like the other day.
No.
When you get
nowhere
settled,
near.
are you happy to do a white balance?
You bet.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, they're doing the color balancing. Anything else?
Oh, sure. There are 46 people on the ship, right?
Okay. I see Sharon from Adelaide, South Africa, and then a bunch of names there. Kat, Dan, 2 cats, James, Rediger, Kathy, so Spencer.
Are the porch lights off, Angelo?
Porch light is
That's
secure.
from Jason.
What's that? Yeah, Jason is throwing out some names, so he's seen them before. Welcome to all of you.
Okay, go ahead and zoom.
We're delighted. And Reese is on as well.
Mm-hmm.
I get a little more center for you. There you go.
And then a viewer is asking for
While
advice
you white balance.
for her. What
use bubble
advice
while
would
you
you
white
give
balance?
to
Stand by, I'm using
someone
that for
who would love to
my
get
altitude right
into
now.
marine
Just trying to
biology
set my bias.
Just let me know.
that has a master's degree in cybersecurity and is landlocked?
Well, the only thing I could tell you is that you probably need to get some courses in marine biology, and that might mean that you've got to go somewhere that has a marine biology program, and that's going to be kind of tough if you're landlocked. So I guess the question is, if you want to get into it, you might have to move, or you might have to go to school somewhere else. And I realize you've already got a master's in cybersecurity, but you do need some additional coursework in marine biology.